my dear student. So this is Siva Prakasa from K.B.N college. Now we are going to discuss banking theory and practice. So first of all, what is the meaning of bank? So usually bank is the oldest term, bank is the fastest term, and also bank is the fast growing financial institutions towards the betterment of the society. Bank is a financial institution which deals with deposits and advances and other related services. Bank rendering services for the benefit of the public. So nowadays banks has a prominent role in the development of the economy, country's economy, as well as the people, those who are living in the society. So without bank we are not supposed to survive on the surface. People are depending much on bank. So nowadays everybody paying or everybody receiving through mobile phones. That means mobile net, that means e-payment system or e-receipt system. It receives money from those who want to save deposits in the banks, and it lends money to those who need it. Usually banks are collecting money from the public and dispersing money to the public. So banks are collecting money from the surplus amount holders, surplus earning holders. So and bank distributing money to those who needs. Bank distributing or dispersing loans to those who needs for their economical development. So like farmers and entrepreneurs and governments, all these kinds of people getting loans from the banks for their existence, for their development. Now characteristics. So what is bank? What are the characteristics? Bank is a financial institution which deals with the money and lending loans and getting deposits. Now first characteristic is dealing in money. Banks are dealing with money. Banks are getting deposits. Banks are distributing money to the needy people. Usually banks are collecting deposits from the public. Banks are inviting deposits from the public. Who deposits their money? Who wants to deposit their money? Those who are having surplus money, they want to deposit their money in the banks. And similarly, banks are distributing money to the needy people. Those who want to establish, those who want to developing their economical background or economical soundness of the people, they are depending on the bank money. So that's the reason banks are giving financial assistance to the entrepreneurs, individuals, farmers and farms and companies, and also government authorities, and also governments, and also corporations. So simply banks are giving financial assistance to the needy people. Second characteristic is individual, firm or a company. So bank established by the individual persons or firms or a company. Bank is a business run by the people, maybe in the form of an individual person or in the form of a firm or in the form of a company. They are collecting money. So from the public, they are distributing money to the public by an individual or a firm or a company. It doesn't matter, but they are doing business, banking business. They are doing finance business. Third one is accepting deposits. How banks are accepting deposits? Usually 4 types of deposits are taken by the bank generally. Any commercial bank or cooperative bank or what kind of bank it is. Generally all public sector banks, all private banks are accepting deposits. So they are taking deposits from the public. Those who are having surplus money, they are only depositing their money in their bank accounts for the sake of savings. On the deposit, banks are giving a little bit interest on their savings of the customers. Next, giving advances. Banks are distributing money. Banks are getting deposits. Deposit money to be distributed by the banks to the needy people. Like government, sometimes government also getting loans from the banks. Similarly, individual can get the loans from the banks. Farmers are getting loans from the banks. banks getting deposits and distributing the deposit money to the needy people. It may be farmers or entrepreneurs or government. Next one is payment and withdrawal. Usually bankers are accepting negotiable instruments like checks, hundis and promissory notes, so all other things. So simply they are getting money and distributing money. So banks are giving assistance to get the money, to withdraw the money by the customers. Those who are having account in such bank, they can deposit their money, they can withdraw their money when it is necessary. Next one is agency and utility services. Bank act as an agent. So how bank act as an agent on behalf of the customer? Some banks are purchasing securities in the open market of different companies. So in that situation, bank act as an agent. So utility services, some kind of services are rendering by the bank for the benefit of the people, for the benefit of the society. So if people is developing in the society, automatically society will be developed. That is the reason bank utility services like lockers and RTGS or NEFT, these kind of services are rendering by the bank for the benefit of the public or account holders. Profit and service orientation. Any commercial bank, some cooperative banks, may be the objective of cooperative bank may be different. The objective of regional rural bank may be different. In case of commercial bank, the bank is meant to earn more and more profit while doing services. They are rendering services, they are rendering better services, they are providing better services, they are providing qualitative service to the public. Similarly, they are getting money as profit. So no bank is serving free of cost of any service. Every bank is providing any service for the sake of getting profit. So in case of commercial banks, what I am telling is commercial banks, any commercial bank providing service with some charge. Ever increasing. Bank is fast growing organization. Bank is fast growing business organization. Endless. Nowadays we are all using banking services in a unique manner. So because bank is part and parcel of our day-to-day life. Without bank we are not supposed to survive on the surface. So without mobile, nowadays mobile plays a vital role in our lives. So that is the reason. So bank plays a vital role in the development of the person, in the development of the nation, in the development of the globe. So that is the reason. So bank is ever increasing. There is no end to enhancing of their services, to enhancing of their abilities. It has been developing always. That is the reason bank is ever increasing. One of the features of bank is ever increasing, never ending. Next one is connecting link. It's a bank acting as a link between the people and organizations. So if you are depositing your money, they are distributing your money to some other organizations. Next, banking business. Banking is not a individual. Banking is a business. Everyone is doing business. Banking take up as a business organization. So that is the reason bank acting as a business entrepreneur or business organization. It is an organization which runs business with money. An organization which deals with money, that is called banking business. Now we are moving to commercial bank. Commercial banks. What are commercial banks? What is commercial bank? It is the most common type of banks are commercial banks. Commercial banks are the most important constitutes of banking system. Commercial bank is a quite natural or quite common. Everyone knows very well about the bank. That is called a commercial bank. Commercial bank is a profit motive or profit seeking business firm dealing in money rather than dealing in claims to money. Commercial bank mainly, it's a very common bank. Everyone knows about the commercial banks, but the main motto or the main motto of the commercial bank is to earn profit for their survival. Bank survival depending on the public interest. Once bank loses the interest of the public, the survival of the bank will be question mark. So that bank should earn profit. Without sufficient volume of profit, bank cannot rendering services, bank cannot providing services in a desired manner or unique manner what public needs. They are not fulfilling the needs of the public if they are struggling with losses. So profit is essential for any commercial bank. So then we are moving to functions of commercial bank. Here four types of broadly functions are classified into four categories. First one is primary functions. So in that primary function we have three areas: accept deposits. All commercial banks accept deposits collecting from the individual persons or organizations or companies. Usually banks are collecting various deposits like fixed deposit or term deposit or recurring deposit or current deposit or savings deposit. So these kinds of deposits are encouraging by the bank. So it means bank encourages savings in the public. Bank motivates the public to save some money for future unexpected, meeting the future unexpected wants and desires. So that is the reason bank accepts deposits from the public. It may be individual person or firms or companies, whoever it is. Second one is one of the primary functions of banks, commercial banks, providing loans and advances. Simply, banks provides loans and advances. How banks are providing loans? How banks are getting advance? How banks are granting advances? Basing on the borrower financial capacity and caliber, the motto of the borrower, then they are granting loans. Some of the people may be purchasing a house. So basing on their financial condition, banks are granting loans. Basing on their requirements, banks are granting loans. Whether they are fit or not, they are inspecting. Banks are inspecting whether the person is competent or not, whether the person is fit or not. Then they are granting loans. That is the secondary function. Second one of the primary functions of commercial banks. Third one is cash credit. What is cash credit? Commercial banks generally accepting deposits and distributing money, that is called cash credit. Simply creating demand for the cash in the market, that is called cash credit. How banks are creating demand for the cash? They are getting they are getting deposits and distributing money. So banks are distributing money to the farmers, government and corporations and like other people, those who needs. సో ఎవరికైతే అవసరం ఉంటుందో వాళ్ళకి ఇస్తూ ఉంటారు కాబట్టి ఆటోమేటిక్గా సో క్యాష్ క్రెడిట్ అనేది, క్యాష్ డిమాండ్ అనేది క్రియేట్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. బ్యాంక్స్ ఆర్ క్రియేటింగ్ సో డిమాండ్ టు ది క్యాష్. నెక్స్ట్ వన్ ఈజ్ secondary functions. So what is secondary function? Primary is essential functions, secondary is facilities providing by the bankers. So these are the primary functions are the main source, main intention of the banks. Why banks are establishing, why banks are incorporated by the people to do primary functions, to fulfill the primary functions. Whereas secondary functions, these are the services providing by the bankers. These are services providing by the bankers for the customers. First one is discounting bill of exchange. Usually business people are maintaining bills, they are discounting with the bank for the temporary adjustment of the money. They are maintaining bills by the business people. Second one is overdraft facility. What is overdraft? So current account people may be getting overdraft facility from the bank. Current account holders, current account customers may be getting overdraft facility from the banks. Banks are facilitating overdraft facility to the current account holders only. Generally current account holders are getting overdraft facility for the banks on the basis of temporary adjustments. Next one is purchasing and selling of securities. Now banks are providing agent services. They are purchasing bonds, shares and other kind of like debentures, other kind of securities of a particular company, and selling them bonds, shares of a particular company on behalf of the customer. They are acting as a agent on behalf of the customer. Bankers acting as agent while purchasing and selling of securities of different companies in the society. Next, locker facility. Now, locker facilities. Banks are providing locker facility to the customers with a minimum annual rent, with a minimum annual rental basis. People are keeping their valuable things like jewelry and silver and valuable documents they are keeping at bank lockers. Bank acting as a custodian for the people properties. People property custodian act చేస్తుంది కాబట్టి బ్యాంక్ లాకర్ ఫెసిలిటీ is providing by the bankers for the needy people on minimum annual rental basis. Next one, paying and gathering credit. So receiving and dispersing of amount, that is called paying and gathering of credit by the banker. Next one is third one, development functions. In these development functions, there are 5 development functions are there. So commercial bank plays playing development functions. First one is increase in capital productivity. Whatever loans they are giving to either individual or government or companies or corporations, the thing is capital productivity basis. They need to develop. They are following up of the loan holders. So upgrading of the level, upgrading of the financial level or potentiality of the loan holders or loan borrowers. So for that they are giving some kind of assistance in that area. Next, investment promotion. What is investment promotion? Usually bankers encouraging the customers, encouraging the account holders to invest their surplus amount on so valuable return or guaranteed return schemes. Guaranteed return like insurance or mutual funds. People, those who are having surplus money, they are ready to deposit their money. Their depositing money may be diverting or converting on mutual funds or other investing areas. Encouragement to capital formation. What is encouragement? So establishing new entrepreneurs, establishing new organizations. So and also procuring of capital. Procuring of capital is a major task to any businessman before establishing a business organization. For that, bankers are encouraging to give financial assistance in terms of loans to procuring capital formation, to procuring or to gathering capital. Business people are struggling with shortage of capital. Farmers are struggling with shortage of financial assistance. Banks are providing these kinds of capital formation, these kinds of encouragements to give loans to the farmers as well as business people. It may be helpful to the business people or entrepreneurs to upgrading of their levels, to upgrading of their business organization, to enhancing of their uplifting of their business organization. Next one is increase employment. If somebody is going to start a new business organization, they may be offering employment, they may be offering some kind of employment opportunities. They are having some kind of employment opportunities if they are doing business. If somebody is establishing business organization with the help of the banks, it may be helpful to creating employment in such organizations. So if that person is doing business, he may be offering some kind of employment opportunities in the society. It may be helpful in enhancing the employment facilities, employment opportunities in the society. Because of banks are giving financial assistance to the entrepreneurs. Next, elasticity of monetary system. It has been growing up. Banking system is always growing up. It never fall down because people are Day by day, people are depending on the banks much and much and much. It has been improving. No stagnating point at banks. Last one is motor functions. What are motor functions performed by the commercial banks? Like issue of credit cards and debit cards, smart cards. So all the commercial banks, all kinds of banks, not only commercial banks, all kinds of banks are issuing credit cards, debit card and smart cards. So second one is changing cash for bank deposit and bank deposits for cash. Changing cash for bank deposits for cash, depositing money and withdrawing money. So providing 24 hours facility of payment through ATMs and CDMs. Now CDMs are available in the market, CDMs are available in the society. Banks are establishing CDMs also. You can deposit your money at 24/7. So whenever it is required. Next one is transferring bank deposits between individual or companies. Transferring bank deposits between individual or companies. Transforming bank deposits between the individual and companies. We can exchange our money with some other, we can transforming our money with some other innovation or investment banking systems. Exchanging deposits for bills of exchange, government bonds, securities, unsecured promise of trade and industrial units. Underwriting capital issues. These are the modern functions of the bank. So commercial banks, which were founded by the commercial banks for the development of the society as well as people. Next, types of banks. Broadly, five kinds of banks are there on the basis of ownership, on the basis of RBI, on the basis of functions, on the basis of nationality, on the basis of structure. So first one is kinds of bank. On the basis of classification. Here classification as per the Scheduled Bank Regulation Act 1965. Banks are two types: scheduled bank, non-scheduled bank. Section 2, as per RBI Act, those banks are registered as per Section 2 RBI Act, that is called scheduled bank. That means registered banks are scheduled banks. Non-scheduled banks. What is non-scheduled bank? There is no list. There is no list in the RBI. So that means unregistered banks, not registered banks are unregistered banks, not listed by the RBI, not recognized by the RBI. Next, classification on the basis of nationality. First one is foreign bank. Foreign bank means the bank which is incorporated or established by the outside India, not within India, outside India, that is called foreign bank. The bank which is established by the people or organizations or companies not in India but established by outside India, that is called foreign bank. Domestic bank. So the bank which is established or incorporated by the India or Indian individual in India, that is called domestic bank. The bank which is incorporated by Indians, that is called domestic bank in India. Next, classification on the basis of ownership. Public sector banks, private sector banks, cooperative banks. Public sector banks. So actually government of India recognized 20 banks as public sector banks. In the year 1969, 14 banks were taking into the public sector, and 1980 6 banks were taken into the public sector. Now some of the banks were merged in different banks. So public sector bank means government banks, the bank which is doing by the government. The bank which is run and doing by the government is called public sector banks. Private sector banks, which is established and run by the private people, individual or companies or some other persons, that is called private banks. Cooperative banks. The cooperative movement was started in India in the year 1904. The Cooperative Societies Act established in India 1912. What is cooperative bank? An association of people, a group of people, those who are like-minded people can make an association are doing banking business. So that is called cooperative banks. An association of person established by a bank, that is called cooperative bank. In India, three-tier cooperative system is there. Three-tier cooperative banking system is there. One is primary cooperative societies, those who are working at village level, at the grassroots level. Second one is central cooperative banks, that is called district cooperative banks. Third one is state cooperative banks. So in India, three-tier cooperative system is there. One is primary credit societies, second one is central cooperative banks, third one is state cooperative banks. So next one is classification according to the functions: commercial banks, industrial banks, agriculture banks, exchange banks, savings banks, indigenous banks, and central bank. What is commercial bank? Already we discussed it. So it is a common bank, it is very ordinary bank. The main motto of commercial bank is to earn profit while rendering services for the benefit or for the development of the people or some other organizations in the society. Industrial bank, the bank which is meant for granting loans to the industrialists on short-term basis. Usually long-term and medium-term loans are granting industrial bank to the industrialists. The main motto of industrial bank is to providing loans. What kind of loans? Medium term loans and long term loans to the industrialists. So industrial bank is established for the meeting of medium term and long term loans to the industrialists, to providing medium term and long term loans to the industrialists. Agricultural banks, India is depending on the agriculture sector. That's the reason Indian government or Indian banks are so majorly giving much importance to the agriculture. Farmers are struggling with shortage of funds. That is the reason agriculture banks are established by the government or private sector. Usually agriculture banks giving finance assistance to the farmers. The main motto of agriculture banks to provide financial assistance to the farmers or cultivators. Exchange banks. Usual exchange banks are established by the exchange of money. So for that reason, these kind of banks are established by the people in India. Usually commercial banks are doing these kinds of commercial banks are playing these kind of exchange bank roles nowadays. Savings banks encouraging usually small savings from the public. They are encouraging public to deposit small amounts in their bank accounts, like 12 months period or 20 months period, 24 months period or 36 months period, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Like recurring deposits. Indigenous banks before independence. So in our country, so many indigenous bankers are there, like money lenders, shawkars. These kind of people are giving finance assistance at rural level, at neighboring places of their livelihood. Central bank, one nation, one bank, that is called central bank. Every country has a central bank. So it is the apex financial institution of any country. Now we are going to discuss central bank. Central bank is a central point to the entire banking system. It is the apex financial institution of the country. Central bank is the bank which constitutes the apex of the monetary and banking structure of its country. Without central bank, no other bank is monitoring entire the country. That is the reason central bank is essential for any country to monitor or to coordinate government and banks, to regulate banks, to making policies. So that is the reason central bank is the apex financial institution for any country. So what kind of functions performing by the central bank? First one is bank of note issue. Any country, central bank performs note issuing authority. The central bank has a monopoly to issue notes of currency of different countries. So in India, RBI is a central bank. It has authority to issue notes, currency notes. Second one is banker, agent and advisory to the government. Central bank act as a banker to the government, banker to the central government, agent to the government, advisor to the government. Simply, government of India's banker. So RBI is nothing but a government, central government. It acts as agent. Sometimes they are acting as agent. RBI acting as agent on behalf of the government. Sometimes central bank getting advices from the RBI regarding the monetary aspects. Not in all aspects, only monetary aspects. Cash reserve ratio. So cash reserve ratio management. Next one is cash reserve ratio management, CRR, maintained by the central bank in any country. So fixes of CRR by the central bank, not by the commercial bank, not by the other banks. Only central bank has a right to fixes or finalizes CRR ratio. Next, custodian of foreign exchange reserve of nation. So if any country getting money from other countries, if any country getting currency of other countries, so central bank, any country central bank act as a custodian of the foreign exchange, which foreign exchange came into the country, which foreign exchange come into the country. So all types of foreign currencies, so preserving and acting as custodian by the central bank. Nowadays, commercial banks also preserving money under the supervision, under the monitoring of central bank. Simply, what type of currency, what country currency we are receiving, that currency is preserving and acting as a custodian of the currency. Next, lender the last report. If commercial banks are failed to getting loans from the other banks or other institutions, central bank is the last resort to providing loans to the commercial banks. There is no scope of getting loans from the any other banks. The final resort for getting loans from the getting loans by the bank from central bank, any country. So if commercial banks fail, one commercial bank, if one commercial bank fail to get loans from other banks, they are getting finally that bank is getting finally loan from the central bank of the nation. Next, clearing house function. So central bank acting as a clearing house function, all kinds of disbursements done by the central bank finally. So it acts as a clearing, it plays a clearing house function in that situation. Control of credit. One of the functions performing by the central bank is control of credit. All credit control system, all credit controlling rules and regulations, all credit controlling measures, so framed by the central bank. Next, collection of data regarding financial data. So all deposits or all loans, all kinds of financial information collecting by the central bank in the entire nation. Agricultural credit. What kind of agriculture, what kind of loans? Suppose some loans are some kind of long-term loans, some kind of short-term loans, some kind of temporary loans. So maybe borrowing by the farmers. All types of loans. What type of loans are need by the farmers, identifying the needs of the farmers and granting loans to the farmers. So if farmer is cultivating, harvesting properly, they are getting so more benefits. That is the reason in our country mainly focusing on the agriculture development. Majority of the people in our country depending on the agriculture sector. That is the reason in our country RBI, so much RBI encouraging all kinds of banks to giving loans to the farmers on easy formalities or single window formalities. Last one is maintaining international relations. So any central bank, any nation central bank, any country central bank, so representing their nation at international conferences, like some World Banks conducting some conferences. So in our country, RBI people may be representing our country. So otherwise, similarly, all nations are representing their nations. All central banks are representing their nations. Thank you. one and all.